And here we go again. It's Mr. Bing, Liberty High School, Principles of Engineering. This is activity 2.1.6. We already did part 1, and then we did part 2, and now this is part 3. That's how numbers work, 1, 2, 3. And in part 1, if I can change this, do this, video this. How do I change it? Oh, there it is. And so I'm going to change to this and show you. I'm going to show you. I change to this, and I don't know if they can still, while it's changing screens, I don't know if they can still hear me. Anyway, this was part 1. In part 1, we figured out what all the angles were. This was part 2. In part 2, we figured out what all the lengths of each member was. And if you care about that, you got to watch those videos. And then this one is going to be part 3. This one's going to be part 3, which I sort of reduced it to just the forces that are involved here, because this is where we start to get to what the problem is really about, and that's figuring out all the forces on the members. And you might say, well, here's a force on a member, so that's, we already know that one. And then here's a force on a member, we already know that one. And here's a force on a member, we already know that one. However, when I say force on the members, what I really mean is forces on the joints. And so there are multiple forces here, many of which we don't know, multiple that we don't know. It's going to take a long time to get there. But what we can do to get started is we figure out that here are 3 forces that are all downward. And these supports, this is called a pin support and a roller support. A pin support has a support force that's vertical, and a roller has a support force that is vertical. And it turns out a pin also has a horizontal force, but we'll deal with that later. Right now, I want to, let me see, is this A? I want this to be A sub Y, that's unknown. And then I want this to be, that's not A, that's, ignore that. That's C sub Y, that's unknown. And the reason this is A and this is C is because they labeled these, I think, A, B, C, or A, B, C, D, E, or something like that. But anyway, it's A and C on these particular supports. So if you have a 1,000 and a 500 and a 250, and those are all forces down, we're just going to add those together. And then you have an AY and a CY, and we assume that those are up, so we'll add those together. And so when you add 2 ups and add 3 downs, really what you're doing is getting them to cancel out. So you could say, oh, all the ups have to add up to all the downs. Yes, but ordinarily we think of the sum of all the forces has to be 0. And so in that case, we've got an A force, and we don't know if that's an up or a down. Actually, we're pretty sure it's an up. And then we have a C force, and then we have a 1,000 force, and then we have a 250 force, and then we have a 500 force, and they all add up to 0. All of these forces, except this one is negative, this one is negative, and this one is negative. We know that because we can look at the picture, and they're down. And you might say, well, we can look at the picture of the A sub Y and C sub Y and see that they're up. Yes, that's a good assumption, but you don't always want to make that assumption. And so anyway, A sub Y, that's supposed to be Y, plus C sub Y, and this is going to be plus, except they're all negative. And so negative 1,000, negative 250, negative 1,500 is negative 1,750. If you don't like adding negatives, which of course you shouldn't because that's annoying, you could just say, well, I'm not going to add a negative, I'm just going to subtract. So I get A sub Y plus C sub Y minus 1,750. But the joke's on you because the negative 1,750 that you didn't want to add a negative, and so instead you subtracted. Well, now algebra tells you you're going to have to add that 1,750 to the other side. And so we're going to end up with A sub Y plus C sub Y equals 1,750. So of course that means we really don't know anything yet. We know A sub Y plus C sub Y equals 1,750, but we really don't know what each of those are individually. We'll have to do that in another video. Guess what, dudes? I'm going to finish my 3rd video by stopping the recording. Or should I switch back to my face? I feel like this part is dumb. They don't need to see my face at all, do they? Because every time I try to show them my face, there's this weird, oh, there it is. All right, so bye-bye.